I died on Thanksgiving, choking on my own vomit in a dingy motel room off I-95, the taste of cheap bourbon and betrayal burning my throat like acid rain. My mother's voice echoed in my skull even then. "You're an idiot, Julia." "Always have been." Those words she'd hurled at me just hours before banning me from the family table, sealing my exile with a slammed door and a lock changed while I stood there in the November chill. But death wasn't the end. It was a goddamn reset button, slamming me back into my 25-year-old body on that same crisp autumn morning 3 years prior, heart pounding with the fresh scar of a memory that no one else could touch, yet. The first breath I took in that recycled life hit like a freight train, my lungs seizing as I bolted upright in the sagging queen bed of my cramped Brooklyn apartment, the sheets tangled around me like restraints from a psych ward. It was November 22nd, 2022, the day before the holiday that would unravel everything in my first go-round. My hands flew to my neck, feeling for the phantom rope of despair I'd tied around it in the end. But there was nothing. Just smooth skin, a faint stubble of unshaven legs from the night before, and the acrid scent of yesterday's takeout lo mein still clinging to the air. Holy shit. I'd done it. I'd come back. The universe, or whatever sadistic force ran this carnival, had given me a do-over. And the rage that had festered in my grave now boiled over, hot and unfiltered, demanding I make every second count. I stumbled to the mirror above the dresser, its frame chipped from too many slammed drawers, and stared into eyes that were mine but sharper now, edged with the knowledge of futures unlived. 3 years ago, I'd been Julia Hayes, 25. A junior copywriter at a midtown ad agency scraping by on ramen and freelance gigs, dreaming of the day I'd pitch my own campaign and climb out of the hole my family had dug for me. Mom, Eleanor Hayes, queen of the PDA in our sleepy Jersey suburb, had always played the martyr, her sighs heavy as lead weights whenever I called home. Dad had bailed when I was 6, leaving her to raise me alone, or so she told her bridge club. But I knew better now. In my death throes, as the pills dissolved on my tongue, the truth had clawed its way out. She'd been siphoning my college fund for years, funneling it into her side hustles, really just pyramid schemes and bad real estate bets that kept her in designer handbags and Botox appointments. The betrayal wasn't just financial, it was personal. A slow poison she'd fed me drop by drop, convincing me I was the failure, the idiot daughter who couldn't even show up for turkey without ruining the vibe. That Thanksgiving, in the life I'd left behind, I'd driven 3 hours from the city to our family McMansion in Short Hills, arms laden with a pumpkin pie I'd baked from scratch, my olive branch after months of radio silence. Mom had been waiting in the foyer, her silk blouse crisp as a fresh bill, lips pursed like she'd sucked on a lemon. "Julia. Honey," she'd said, voice dripping saccharine. "We're keeping things light this year. Your aunt's coming, and you know how she gets about. Well, your situation. My situation. Code for my unstable job and the boyfriend she'd deemed beneath us because he was a barista with student debt." The pie hit the welcome mat with a splat, custard oozing like my dignity, and she didn't even flinch. "You're not invited," she'd added, casual as canceling a Netflix sub. "Go fix yourself, idiot. We don't need your drama." The door shut, the deadbolt clicked, and that was it, the final shove off the cliff. Now, staring at my reflection, I laughed, a jagged, ugly sound that echoed off the peeling wallpaper. "Fix myself? Oh, Mom, you have no idea. This time, I wouldn't beg for scraps. I'd burn the table down from under you, piece by careful piece. and watch you scramble for the crumbs. My phone buzzed on the nightstand, a text from my coworker, Sarah, reminding me about the agency pitch meeting at noon. In the old timeline, I'd nailed that pitch, landing a promotion that bumped my salary to $65K, enough to start paying off the loans Mom had forgotten to cover from my undergrad days. That money? It had been my ticket out. But she'd sniffed it coming and doubled down, accusing me of squandering opportunities to guilt me into wiring her cash for emergencies. Emergencies like her third facelift. Not this time. I grabbed my laptop, fingers flying across the keys as I logged into my bank app. First order of business: untangle the web of joint accounts she'd sweet-talked me into years ago, back when I thought blood meant loyalty. By 10 a.m., I'd transferred every cent from our shared savings, $4, $200, scraped from my overtime, to a new high-yield account in my name only. The confirmation pinged like a gunshot, and I felt a thrill snake up my spine, equal parts vindication and venom. She'd noticed by evening, when her auto-pay for the country club dues bounced. But that was just the appetizer. The real feast? I'd been keeping score in my head since the motel floor, replaying every lie, every dig, every dollar she'd clawed for my future. Mom wasn't just broke, she was leveraged to the hilt. That McMansion? Mortgaged 3 times over, with me as the co-signer on the refi because your family. Jewels. The Beamer in the garage? Leased under my credit line. Her excuse being diversifying assets. Assets. As if I were her personal ATM, dispensing validation along with the Benjamins. I showered quick, the hot water scalding away the ghost of that final night, and dressed in my power armor, black slacks, crisp white blouse, the blazer I'd splurged on after the promotion that wouldn't come soon enough this time around. No, I'd make it come faster. On the subway to Midtown, packed shoulder to shoulder with commuters nursing hangovers, I drafted emails on my phone, polite poison pens to the utility companies, the mortgage servicer, the credit card issuers. This is to notify you of a change in authorized payers, I'd write, attaching notarized affidavits I'd forge. No. Wait. In this life, I'd play clean. I'd call the bank tomorrow, cite identity concerns after discovering unauthorized activity, and freeze every line tied to her name through mine. Controversial? Hell yes. She'd spin it to the family as me being the ungrateful bitch, the daughter who abandoned her sainted mother in her hour of need. But need? She'd manufactured every ounce of it, burying the secret that tied us, the life insurance payout from Dad's accident, a drunk driving crash she'd pinned on him to collect double. When really, she'd been the one pouring the whiskey that night. Her alibi, a conveniently timed girls' trip that never happened. I'd uncovered that gem in my last days, piecing it together from faded emails on her old desktop while she was at spin class. Dad hadn't been the drunk. She'd dosed his flask to stage it, cashing in the policy to fund her escape from the drudgery of single motherhood. Me? I'd been the collateral, raised on tales of his irresponsibility to keep me loyal, keep me paying. The irony? That payout had seeded my college fund, $150K she'd whittled down to $12,000 by graduation, claiming fees and investments. Investments in her vanity, her vices. Now, with 3 years' foreknowledge, I could unravel it all. But revenge wasn't a sprint. It was a marathon of calculated cuts, each one deeper than the last. The agency office hummed with pre-holiday buzz when I arrived, strings of LED lights draped over cubicle walls, the scent of cinnamon from someone's illicit candle wafting through the air. Sarah waved me over. Her desk a war zone of mock-ups for the holiday campaign.
Jules.
You look intense. Rough night. I forced a grin. The kind that didn't reach my eyes. Just plotting world domination. She laughed. Oblivious. And we dove into the pitch. In the old life. I'd hesitated on the tagline, harvest the now, too timid to push back when the boss nitpicked. This time, I eviscerated his feedback, quoting market data I'd memorized from future reports. My voice steady as steel. By 2 p.m., the room was mine. The creative director nodded, impressed, and murmured about fast-tracking you for senior. Score 1 for the ghost. Back in Brooklyn by dusk, I ignored the voicemail from Mom, her annual, don't forget the pie. Sweetie, laced with that faux warmth that always set my teeth on edge. Instead, I cooked for one, a solitary roast chicken, skin crackling under the broiler, potatoes mashed with too much butter because fuck portion control tonight. As I ate, fork scraping ceramic, I mapped it out on a napkin, phases of the takedown. Phase 1, financial freeze. By week's end, her cards would decline at Whole Foods. Her lights flicker. She'd call, frantic, spinning sob stories about hard times. I'd listen, say nothing, let the silence stretch like a noose. Phase 2, the family fracture. Aunt Lydia, Mom's enabler-in-chief, would get an anonymous email, screenshots of the embezzlement, timestamps matching Dad's crash. Controversial? Planting seeds of doubt in blood kin? Absolutely. But she'd sown worse in me, whispering to cousins that I was unreliable, dramatic, until holidays became minefields I navigated alone. Phase 3, the confrontation. Not on Thanksgiving, that trap was sprung.
No.
I'd lure her to the city, to my turf, under pretense of reconciliation brunch. She'd come, pearls clutched, expecting capitulation. Instead, I'd lay it bare, the fund theft, the insurance scam, the years of gaslighting that drove me to that motel abyss. Her face would crumple shock, denial, that serpentine pivot to victimhood. And then, the twist I'd been savoring, proof she wasn't just a thief, but a killer. I'd hired a PI in my mind's eye already, but with foreknowledge, I knew where the evidence hid, in a safety deposit box under her maiden name,
Tucked in a Newark branch.
Keys? She'd shown them to me once, drunk on Merlot, mistaking me for a co-conspirator. But as the wine from my solo dinner warmed my veins, doubt crept in like fog off the East River. Was this justice or just venom recycled? In the old life, I'd chosen despair, letting her words define me until they erased me.
Now,
Armed with seconds, was I becoming her, Machiavellian, merciless? The napkin plan blurred under a tear I hadn't permissioned, and I crumpled it, tossing it toward the trash.
no.
Mercy was for the living who'd earned it. She hadn't. I poured another glass, toasting the mirror across the room. To do-overs, Mom. May yours be as bitter as mine. The weeks blurred into a calculated haze, each day a step deeper into the architecture of my revenge. By December, the first crack showed. Mom's texts escalated from nagging, Julia, why hasn't the mortgage cleared, to pleading, honey, there's a glitch, can you spot me? Her voicemails cracking with that practiced quiver she'd honed on bill collectors. I responded in monosyllables, handled it, letting her imagination fill the void with worst-case scenarios. At work, the promotion landed ahead of schedule. My salary jump funding a sleek one-bedroom in Williamsburg. The kind with exposed brick and a view of the bridge that screamed, "I've arrived." Sarah threw a housewarming. Cheap Prosecco bubbling in plastic cups. And for a night, I almost forgot the ghost in my veins. Almost. Until Cousin Mark cornered me by the charcuterie board. Buzzed on IPAs. "Heard from Aunt Ellie? She's spiraling, says you're ghosting her." "What's the deal?" "Jules." I sipped my drink, the bubbles sharp on my tongue, and met his eyes, blue like Dad's. A genetic gut punch. "The deal? She's been ghosting me my whole life."
Mark.
Time to return the favor. He blinked. Thrown. But I didn't elaborate. No need. The seeds were sown. Let them fester. That night, alone in my new space, boxes half unpacked like half-healed wounds, I finally cracked the safety deposit box. A quick drive to Newark under cover of a snow squall. The bank teller none the wiser with my forged power of attorney. Controversial. Sure. But she taught me the art of paperwork forgery during one of her lessons on protecting assets. Inside, yellowed envelopes. A grainy dashcam still from Dad's crash showing her silhouette in the passenger seat. Flask in hand, and bank statements tracing the insurance windfall straight to her vanity projects. My hands shook as I photographed it all, the flash stark against the dim vault light. Evidence. Leverage. The blade I'd wield not to kill, but to carve truth from lies. Christmas came and went in a blur of agency parties and forced cheer. My tree a Charlie Brown sad sack in the corner. Strung with lights-eyed impulse bought to prove I could celebrate solo. Mom tried the nuclear option. A mass email to the family group chat. "Julia's cutting me off, pray for us," painting me as the prodigal monster. Replies flooded in, concerned trolling from aunts. Passive-aggressive jabs from uncles. I let it burn, responding only to Lydia with a single attachment, the first embezzlement statement, redacted just enough to intrigue. "Ask her about this," I typed. Her reply, "Julia? What is this? Call me." I didn't. Instead, I blocked the lot, muting the digital den as I prepped for Phase 2's apex, the brunch. I chose a spot in the village, Balthazar. All French bistro glamour with velvet banquettes and waiters who sneered at your order if it wasn't escargot. Inviting email sent mid-January. Post-holiday detox. Mom. Let's talk. Neutral ground. 11 a.m. Saturday. My treat. She bit. Of course, hook,
Line.
and Louboutins. Her response a flurry of emojis and so excited to fix this. Baby girl. Baby girl. The nickname curdled in my gut. But I printed the photos, slipped them into a manila folder, and armored up in cashmere and resolve. Saturday dawned gray. The city slick with slush. And I arrived early, claiming a corner booth where I could watch the door. She swept in at 11:05. Fur coat swirling like a cape, cheeks flushed from the cold or the martini she'd no doubt pre-gamed. "Julia," she trilled, air-kissing both sides. Her perfume, Chanel No. 5. Bought with my tuition money, cloying as regret. We ordered avocado toast for me, eggs Benedict for her, the hollandaise pooling like unspoken sins. Small talk first, weather, work. Her latest consulting gig that smelled of MLM snake oil. Then, the pivot. About the holidays, she sighed, dabbing her mouth with linen. I was harsh.
I know.
Stress. You understand. But banning you? That was impulsive. Family's everything,
right?
I leaned back, the booth's leather creaking like a warning. Family.
Yeah.
Speaking of, remember Dad's crash? The one you said was all his fault. Her fork paused midair, yolk dripping. Julia. What? I slid the folder across the table. Photos spilling like confetti from hell. The dashcam image first, her blurry face. Unmistakable. Then the statements. Arrows I'd drawn in red sharply linking payout to my drained fund. Her color drained faster than the yolk, lips parting in a fish gasp.
This
This is insane. Forged. You're framing me? Denial.
check.
I almost laughed. Framing? That's your department.
Mom.
The flask in the car? The girls' trip that was really a motel tryst with your investor? I know it all. And the kicker? You used his death money to play mommy martyr, guilting me into bankrolling your circus act. The bistro noise faded to a hum, patrons glancing our way as her voice rose. A hiss wrapped in velvet. You ungrateful little, I sacrificed everything for you. This is libel. I'll sue.
Sue.
The word hung. Absurd. And I felt the old Julia stir. The one who'd apologize. Backpedal. Wire the cash. But she was dead. Buried under motel tile. Go ahead, I said. Voice low. Lethal. While you're at it, explain to the cops why your safety deposit box matches the VIN on Dad's car. Bluff, half of it, but her eyes widened, the schemer glimpsing her unmaking. She bolted then, coat flapping, leaving eggs congealing and a $200 tab. I paid, tipping double, and walked out into the sleet feeling lighter than I had in years. Or lifetimes. But revenge, I learned, is a boomerang. By February, the fallout hit. Lydia called, voice trembling. Julia. It's true, the money. And your father? We met in a coffee shop, her hands wringing a napkin to shreds. Turns out, Mom had confessed, in pieces, tear-streaked, blaming depression and bad advice. The family splintered. Mark cut her off cold. Uncles grumbled about drama, but whispers followed me too. Julia's vicious. Digging up graves. Controversial? Exposing a killer mom? In America's heartland of forgiveness and Hallmark cards, it was radioactive. My inbox filled with hate mail from distant relatives. Therapy ads sponsored by her bridge cronies. At work, rumors trickled. Hayes girl. Family mess. And Sarah pulled me aside. Brow furrowed. You okay? Need to vent. I waved it off. But the weight settled. A stone in my gut. Spring thawed the literal ice. But not the chill between us. Mom went radio silent. Then nuclear, a cease and desist from a bottom-barrel lawyer. Claiming defamation. I countersued for the stolen funds. My PI, hired legit this time, uncovering more. Offshore accounts in the Caymans, siphoned from family trusts that were really her grift. The climax built like a nor'easter, peaking in April court date. I walked into the Essex County Courthouse. Skirt suit pressed. Folder of evidence under arm. Heart hammering not with fear, but fury refined. She was there, diminished in an ill-fitting blazer. Eyes puffy from nights I hoped were sleepless. Our gazes locked across the aisle, hers pleading, mine ice. Julia. Please, she mouthed as the bailiff called order. But please were currency she'd bankrupted. The judge, a no-nonsense type with a Brooklyn accent, skimmed the filings. Her gavel a punctuation mark on Mom's empire. MS. Hayes, she addressed me. Your claims are compelling. And MS. Eleanor, Hayes. Your responses strain credulity. Testimony flew. My recounting of the gaslighting. The motel despair. Mom's blubbering about protecting the family legacy. Legacy. The word snapped something in me. When my turn came for closing, I stood, voice steady. She didn't protect me. She erased me financially, emotionally, until death seemed kinder. This isn't revenge, it's restitution. For Dad. For the daughter, she buried alive. The gavel fell days later. Judgment in my favor. $250,000 restitution plus the house, foreclosed but deeded to me as settlement. Mom got probation for the fraud. A suspended sentence on the manslaughter charge after the DA cut a deal. She stared at me from the gallery, broken but unbowed, mouthing, I did it for us.
Us.
The lie that had chained me. I turned away, signing papers with a pen that felt like Excalibur. Summer bloomed. The McMansions sold to flippers. Proceeds split after liens. I banked mine, quit the agency for freelance, travel writing, my secret passion from college zines, and jetted to Portugal for a month. Salt air scouring the scars. Back home, the family mended unevenly. Lydia hosted a barbecue. Tentative truce. Mark cracking jokes about Aunt Ellie's spa retreat. Community service? Really? Mom vanished to Florida. Waitressing at a diner. Her text sporadic. Proud of you. Jules. Forgive. I didn't reply. Forgiveness was a luxury for the unbetrayed. But the twist came in September. A manila envelope postmarked Miami. Dad's old watch. Engraved to my girl. Forever.
Inside.
A letter in her looping script. I didn't kill him. Julia. He begged me to. Cancer. Stage 4. Undiagnosed. The crash was mercy. The money? To give you the life he couldn't. I failed. But you're free now. Love. Mom. Cancer. Mercy. The dashcam lied, or I'd misread the shadows. My PI confirmed it later. Autopsy buried. Insurance hushed. She'd schemed. Yes, staged it to avoid scandal, but not murdered. The betrayal? Real. Rotten. But the secret? Layered in love's decay. I sat on my Williamsburg stoop, watch ticking against my wrist. The city pulse mocking my unravel. A happy ending? No. Too pat for this American tragedy of fractured kin. Tragic? Closer. But laced with grace I hadn't earned. I texted her. Free. Thanks. No more. The boomerang returned. Not bludgeoning but balancing, revenge sated. But the idiot in me? She'd evolved. Thanksgiving loomed. And for the first time, I hosted Sarah, Mark, a ragtag crew around my reclaimed table. Turkey carved, toasts raised. Mom's chair empty, but her shadow faded. Finally. In the quiet after,
Dishes stacked.
I stepped onto the fire escape, city lights winking like conspirators. Death had given me this, a life reclaimed, controversial cuts and all. And as the first snow flurried, I whispered to the night, hook,
Line.
and sinker. We both won.
No.
That wasn't the end. Twists. As any ghost could tell you, don't uncoil neatly, they spiral, dragging you under if you're not vigilant. October brought autumn's blaze to the leaves. And with it, an email from an address I hadn't seen since undergrad. J's at Princeton, edu, my old alias. Dormant but dusted off. Subject: one more secret. Attached: a PDF. 47 pages. Titled Hayes Family Ledger. I opened it in my kitchen. Coffee going cold. The document unfolding like a venomous flower. Entries dating back to 1995. Dad's scrawled notes in margins. Mom's typed addendums in courier font. It wasn't just theft, it was a chronicle. Dad's cancer diagnosis. Scribbled in frantic blue ink. Ellie knows. Won't tell Jules. Mercy plan. Accident payout covers treatments she can't afford. Treatments. Plural. For her. 2. Early lymphoma. Beaten back, with experimental trials funded by the insurance scam. She'd staged the crash not just for him, but for us, a double survival play. Her side hustles, a desperate bid to stretch the cash until I graduated debt-free. My hands trembled, the screen blurring as I scrolled. Entries post-crash. Jules Fund, $50,000 to oncology copay. $20,000 braces/emergency. $30,000 tuition gap. Forgive the Boros. Boros. The word she'd used when caught. Casual as a library book. But here, in black and white, it was survival math. Her machinations a warped shield. The motel despair? Not just her barbs, but my blindness. I'd seen the handbags. Not the hospital gowns hidden in the attic. The chemo wigs in the guest room closet. Rage twisted anew. Not at her, but at the me who died without asking why the martyr wore Chanel. I drove to Florida that weekend, the Beamer I'd reclaimed from impound humming down I-95, the same artery that had carried me to ruin before. Miami sprawled, humid and unforgiving. Her address a stucco bungalow in a faded condo complex. Palms rattling like accusations. She answered the door in scrubs. Diner name tag pinned crooked. Eyes widening at the ledger in my fist. Julia. You came. No plea. Just statement. And she stepped aside. The air thick with bleach and regret. We sat at a Formica table. Takeout styrofoam between us, conch fritters. Grease spotting the pages as I spread them. Explain, I said, voice a whip crack. She didn't flinch, just poured sweet tea from a pitcher. Ice clinking like chains. Your father. He was gone by dawn that day. I drove. Yes. Poured the flask. Yes. But it was his idea, his hands on the wheel at the end, to make it clean. The cancer ate him from the inside. He didn't want you seeing that. The tubes. The screams. Me? I followed to witness. And to collect. Because the bills were biblical. Lymphoma hit me 6 months later. Ironic. Right? Poetic justice. Her laugh was a rasp. Cigarettes or sorrow. And she tapped a scar on her neck. A port from the treatments. The fund? I rated it. God forgive me. But every cent circled back to you. Braces so you'd smile in photos. That Paris semester you thought was a scholarship. The down payment on your first car. I told myself it was investment. In you. Investment. The word landed like a slap, echoing her old lies. And the gaslighting? Calling me idiot? Banning me from the table? My voice cracked, the first-person armor slipping. She winced, gaze dropping to the fritters. Fear. You were pulling away that barista boy, your city dreams, and I panicked. If you knew the truth, the mess we were, you'd run. So I pushed, built walls, Made you the villain so you'd stay the hero. Thanksgiving. That was rock bottom. I saw you break. Pie in the mud. And I locked the door because if I let you in, I'd have to confess. The weight. Julia, it crushed me.
Crushed.
Like the bourbon in my veins. The pills on my tongue. We'd both been ghosts. Haunting each other. I stayed till dusk. The ledger abridged, we crossed word by word, her confessions spilling like the tea she'd refilled, my questions probing like scalpels. Dad's mercy. Her illness. The emergencies that were ER visits at 3 a.m. Controversial? Forgiving a killer. Even merciful? In the court of public opinion, family chats ablaze with Ellie duped us all. It was treason. Mark texted mid-convo. WTF? You're seeing her? After everything? I silenced it, choosing this raw reckoning over the echo chamber. By nightfall, as geckos chirped on the screen door, I pocketed the watch, his, now mine again, and stood. This doesn't erase it. The pain, the death, it sticks. She nodded, tears carving tracks in minimal makeup. I know. But maybe. Amends? Not forgiveness. Just forward. Forward. The word lingered on the drive north. Highway lights streaking like comet tails. Back in Brooklyn, I burned the ledger in a metal bowl on the fire escape, flames licking paper, ash scattering on the wind. Work surged, a book deal for my essays on family reinvention, ironic bestseller bait. Holidays approached. Thanksgiving a specter I'd tamed into tradition, my table fuller. Mark thawing with craft beers. Sarah toasting to the Hayes redemption arc.
Mom?
She came north for Black Friday.
Tentative.
Bearing pie, not pumpkin, but key lime. Tart as truth. We ate on the stoop. City bustle below. Her stories of diner shifts mingling with my travel tales. No hugs. No Hallmark thaw, just presence. Fragile as the crust. The real twist? It wasn't in the secrets unearthed, but in the one I kept, the reincarnation. The motel reset. The vengeful ghost who'd scripted this play. I never told her, why burden the living with the dead's delusions? But in quiet moments, watch ticking, I wondered if she'd felt it too, a second chance disguised as ruin. America's tense underbelly, betrayal's not black-eye. Revenge a mirror reflecting your own fractures. We rebuild anyway. Pie slices uneven, but shared. As snow dusted the bridge that December, I raised a glass to the night, to do-overs claimed, to mothers mended, to idiots evolved. The end? Not tragic, not wholly happy. Just human. And enough.